Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we are back. But today we're listening to a soundtrack to my favourite indie game of all time. That soundtrack is Pineapple Smash Crew. The game is a cannon fodder style game where you have characters, you run around, you blow things up. But the music in this game is incredible. Now, a little bit of context. Back when I had my old YouTube channel and when I was studying at university, I actually did a video, I did videos based on music, and I did a video on this, and I was very lucky at the time that Syphus, who is the person who did the music, or aka known as Echo Level, actually commented on the video after I made a lot of, because I love this soundtrack. That was a long time ago. I haven't done this for this channel, so we're going to go over some of the tracks. I will put a link down to Syphus's, firstly the Bandcamp where you can buy this soundtrack, because this soundtrack is awesome. You should definitely have it. And also some links for him. And yeah, let's get to it. This is the menu. It's called Menu Dub. This is the bit of music that plays when you boot the game up when you're on the menu. This is primarily a chiptune album, but this particular track has a really nice guitar part in it. So let's hit it and we'll talk about it. Oh yeah, I love it. That bass. So deep. There's something incredibly magical about having that guitar part that's quite clean with a little bit of reverb on it, playing when you've got a lot of these 8-bit crunchy sounds going on. The fact that the bass is very deep but it's very much like processed, like programmed bass, it fills out that bottom end really nicely. And then you got like the drums being that sort of standard sort of 8-bit sort of sound you come to expect from a lot of music like this. And then you have that guitar that pops through and it's just completely different. I love that combination of like what a normal sort of guitar sounds like when you record it versus the crunchiness of those sort of 8-bit sounds that you're getting in this. That sort of almost dubsteppy wah underneath as well. Very almost like a fart sound. That first 44, pause it there, 44 seconds, there's so much going on. There's the bass line, there's the guitar part, there's the drums, there's the thing, and then like a weird like thing. I just wanna pull it back. As soon as the song hits, you're like ba 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 ba, because it's meant to repeat, right? So it's got an intro sort of part to it. The drums. I love the white noise sort of slap for the snare. The bass, increase the bass line part there with that wobble, 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 wobble. There's like a blim, blim, blim sound going on as well, which I really appreciate. One thing that I very much love about this track is that bass part is playing this do 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 do, and it just plays it the entire track for the most part, and it keeps the track moving, and it kind of gels everything else together, because that's the bit that I always hum when I think about this track. The guitar part's great; it's playing a really nice melody. But the sort of like the anchor point of this track is that bass line, because that's the bit. Every time I think of this track, every time I hear this track, I instantly go for the and that kind of is what I think of it. But then you've got those really like that slapping sound of that sort of what would be a snare drum, which is kind of like white noise, and then you've got the blip blip, and then like obviously the other sort of fatter bass part that comes in. The guitar part's constantly playing. If you just listen to the guitar part now, you just see it's like constantly going dee doo dee doo dee doo dee up and down. It's so good. it's almost like the guitar part melody is meant to be subtle, and the 8-bit sounds are the ones that are meant to be pushing through. Just constantly going, just constantly playing. That last part of the guitar, that bit where it goes do 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 do, it's like my favourite part. Like, it hits that note, that perfect note, and it's what's fascinating to me is that this track has got a sad vibe to it. Like, the actual the bass line, the drums, and all that is a really good beat. It's a really well put together track, but that guitar part adds a level of, I don't quite know what the word is that I'm trying to think of, but like a little bit somber, maybe. I don't know if that's what the intention was, but it gives me that sort of like melancholy kind of vibe. But I want to just pull it back a bit to hear that guitar part that goes do 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 do. It's like, it's just perfect. That's the bit. Oh, so good. Like the right there, we get the ba 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 ba, like that delay sound expands the track. But as far as like menu themes go, that track is such a, to me, it's quite a unique piece. I love the fact that it hits hard, it comes in, and then essentially builds that vibe for the game, because the menu screen itself has, all the standard options, and in the background all this space debris, and there's all these references to famous ships from films and TV series and stuff. But it's a very calm track compared to the rest of the game. You'll see when we get onto some of the other tracks just how more like they're more like what you'd expect from sort of chiptune style music, whereas this one, having that guitar really adds a level of like beautifulness to the track. You're very heavy with the bass, you're very heavy with the drums, and then the beautiful guitar part over the top. Subtle as well. Like, it's not always the main focus. In fact, like I said, I think the bass is the main focus of this track, because that's the bit that I always go back to when I think about this track as I hum. But then when I hear it, it's a whole thing. It's like, it's got a really nice vibe to it, and I love it. Alright, so that's Menu Dub. I think Menu Dub is an awesome piece. Let's move on to the next track. Okay, so Willie Pete is the name of this track. I very much like this one. This is one of my favourite tracks, if not my favourite track in the game. I love the absolute raw energy that this track brings. So let's just get to it. There's something about the track starting with the drums not being as full, or as like on the beat, and then suddenly going into that. Like, I know we only just got into the track, and I really want you guys to hear it, but listen to that boodle. You got that melody sort of playing, and the drums are playing, but it's not until a couple of like, until 8 seconds in, you get and that basically sets up the track in terms of the speed at which we're going to be going at. So it's like they're there, and then we get into it. Bass is there, drums are going a bit quicker, and then we get the melody coming. Some of the, like, what is that? 33 seconds? That's like some of the best music I've ever heard for 33 seconds. Like, this is just blows my mind. I'm not fully, I don't fully understand how people make it with Amigas. I do need to like go and Commodores and all that sort of stuff when they use that old hardware to create these sounds, like back for like demo scenes and things. Like I need to go and do a little bit of research on how that stuff works. However, just listening to that part of the track and listening to that insane melody that comes in and is basically the main focus of the entire track, right? So let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to like 10 seconds. Right? So the melody comes in. And it's just like, it sounds like it should be played on like some guitar or something. And we even get that kind of like, I guess like fluttering tremolo, kind of like a tremolo, like a wah 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 sort of sound. And like, obviously for some people, I know there are people that aren't necessarily the biggest fan of chiptune stuff, but what that like mainline melody is essentially somebody playing the guitar part, right? Like that's how I try to explain it to people. Is like, if you imagine somebody playing that on guitar, that is what is being played. But in this instance, you have that being played through hardware and through older like console and PC like hardware essentially, and it's insane to me because I'm like, I don't quite fully I understand how it's done, but like to use that is like nuts. But if you also, so what makes this work, what makes this track sound so intense is that you have the right behind it the entire time, and then the bass kicks in there. So that's going behind it. And in this track, the bass isn't that complicated. It's just that kind of rhythm, that kind of thing going on with it. But that combination of that bass and those drums in this section is what drives this to go from the very beginning 8 seconds into this very, very fast-paced, moving, and energetic track that we're now hearing. And then we get a change, like the next sort of section of the track. The drums are slightly changed there, they're slowed down a little bit. Not quite as intense. And then this bit drives again. So if we just go back a little bit and look at this sort of section, that change that's coming, right? So the first bit, the first sort of 33 seconds is your build up, is a very sort of the intro, which is about 8 seconds long, into this build up with the first melody coming in, and also essentially the driving force of the track, right? Now, this next sort of section, this bit that changes, is a sort of a break from that. The drums aren't quite going as heavy and as hard. The bass isn't quite there, but it's still doing like, it's still in your face. It's just, it almost feels like the track is taking a tiny bit of a break. The melody isn't. The melody is still going quite strong, but we get a little bit of a reprieve before we go back into, back into a charging of energy through the track. So if you listen to this bit, still got that driving force, but it's not as like sort of sound that you have had. Just the flex in the melody, really. And then we go back into that. This track is 1 minute and 7 seconds long, or 1 minute 6 seconds long, right? This is some of the best chiptune I've ever heard in my life. I love this soundtrack, and like a piece of music like this, like the idea, like when you created like older music on older hardware, the music had to be shorter because of limitations usually, right? So that's why a lot of stuff's very catchy. The reason why this track is catchy is it's got 3 sections, essentially. You've got the first 30-something seconds, you've got the sort of calm part, and then back into that driving force before it then loops back into the original driving part, right? So the reason I like this track so much is it's very precise. It has a setup. It has a bit of a calmer section. And when I mean calmer section, I don't mean like it's much slower. It's just the drums break up a little bit. It change like after that 30 seconds of hearing that, you get that change. When you have that change, your ears go, "Ooh, something interesting's happening." The melody's still going, and then you get back into that last sort of section of it driving forward again. So I'm just gonna hit play now and talk while it's playing, but I just absolutely love this track because that melody is so strong. Back into our calm part, and the melody never really stops that much. That sound behind it as well, which is great. I don't know what to describe that. And then back to that last final stretch. Just full force. It probably helps that there are some like slight reverb and delay going on with the melody as well, but honestly, the game that you're playing, the actual Pineapple Smash Through gameplay is very fast. You need a lot of this music to get you pumping because you're running around, dodging bullets, shooting all this sort of stuff, and like with this playing in the background, you're like, yeah, like this is like such a badass theme. Like I love this track. I think it just works so well. Strong melody, doesn't overstay its welcome, has 3 different parts of the track essentially, 4 if you can count the very first 8 seconds, and it just beautifully combines a simplistic drum and bass part with the melody really doing all the heavy lifting. And like again, if I'm thinking about this track, that melody is ingrained up here because you know you get through the first section and then straight into the last section again. Those bits are very memorable. So yeah, love Willy Pete. I think this is probably my favorite track in the game. Let's have a look at one more piece of music from this game. Okay, so we are going to finish up today with Stay Frosty. This is my other favourite track from the game. I mean, I like the entire soundtrack. I think there's like 9 tracks, 8 tracks, something like that. They're all fantastic. But we're going to do Stay Frosty. I really like this one. This is slightly different. But again, the melody is very memorable, right? The melody here is very memorable. And that's the part that really stands out for me. But the overall track is just, again, it's got this... It just it's sometimes certain pieces of music work incredibly well with the game they're in and the levels they're on, and I think this just beautifully fits the game. So let's have a listen. You can see their similar format, that 8 seconds of that intro, right? So we just play it again. The most important part of this intro is the bit. And then you've got the, what is the chorus of them? Bub, 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 bub. And that 18 seconds, so we got the first 8 seconds into the next sort of 10 seconds, is setting up essentially the backing for what is about to be the melody, right? And so you've got this, which is your drum beat for the track, with this bop 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 bop, and that's basically your what you're getting, right? And then the right? So the track is building its momentum through instantly having a very fast. So you already know that this track is going to be like fairly mobile, if you like, very, very moving forward, a lot of energy in that right direction, and that's before the melodies even hit. So he's already set up what this track's kind of sort of vibe is going for. Very similar to Willie Pete. You have that beginning bit, the drums then change, and you get that drive. He's already set the drive up here, and now we're about to get the melody. So we come back a little bit. I don't want to say the melody's simple, not in terms of like playing it, it's not, but in terms of being able to get something like stuck in your head, it's essentially do 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 do, and then like that, and then that obviously repeats again. So we go back and play that again. You'll see what I mean. You listen to, just focus on the melody here, and bear in mind, when you're on a level, levels are longer than the music, so obviously the music's going to repeat. So you're going to hear this quite a lot, and it's very easy to memorize the melody that's playing. And then we repeat, but in a higher octave. I don't know if you noticed there, when it changes to the next bit where the melody changes, there's like these swells, there's wah, 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 behind it, which, I'll be honest, I forgot they were there, but like, let's just... So, now, basically. Wah, wah, wah. And something else you might notice is when the track starts, you're very aware of the and the drums and that. As the melody comes in, as more things are being added, as the track's going along, it's almost like that back part becomes incredibly chaotic. Because you're listening to the melody and behind it all you can hear is like, it might just be an effect that I'm hearing from this track, but I love the fact that I hear each of the individual instruments. As soon as the melody is going and I'm focusing on the melody, it's like there's just chaos behind it. And it creates that movement and that energy for the track. Different style to the last one, but works so well. And also, something I recommend listening to is this is how the melody, when the beginning melody here, let's go back. The beginning melody here is quite easy to follow in the sense that it's just that do 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 do, and then obviously that repeats, right? When you come into the next section, it's far more complex. There's a lot more going on, which I really like, and I like a lot of the music in this game, where it's like the melody, the first parts of the melody are very easy to remember, and then it just like let's rip, and it's almost like solo territory. So over here, we've got the first melody. There's a nice space between the notes, so you can easily follow what it is. And now we listen. There's no... What's the word I'm looking for? It's just like letting loose. And then we have this slight section here. So you have that melody playing, and it's a lot more complex. It's still easy to follow, but it is a lot more complex. And then we get this bit where the melody drops out and it goes sort of bit. There's so much movement there with the different sounds. Oh! That's something I didn't notice, that the diddly little bit dropped out. When did that happen? Right, so it drops out there. So the diddle stops there. And this entire section's not there. Ah, see, that's really clever, because what that's now done, just listening to it like that, it opens the track up, because you don't have that filling up so much of essentially your sound behind it. By taking that away and by getting rid of the main melody and just adding the like sort of sound going on, you can hear. It's like the breathing part of the track. You can hear the sort of the clarity of the track, all the beat, the speed, the movement is all still there, but now you no longer have something to focus on or something taking up a good chunk of that audible sound, like the sort of the waves, the frequencies and stuff behind you. That's never noticed that before. That's really clever. Got more of the like sort of synth things. And now it's coming back in. And it gets much louder suddenly. And then we get that sound. The explosion going off. Bit dubsteppy. Wah, 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 wah. Right, that section is really cool. So this is like the final section of the track coming up. You get the explosion. And so now we've got the going on. And then that sound going on behind it as well. So the track's built and built and built, and we had like sort of the calm section without some of the like the background instruments and the main melody, but it was still travelling the same pace. Whereas now it feels a lot different. It feels like it's slowing down a little bit. Not necessarily slowing down, but like a bit more open. Right, the drums aren't going quite as heavy, and then the drums are a bit more loose. Yeah, and then back into it, and off we go again, right? So let's just listen to it from start to finish. But it's the composition of these tracks is so good, like it's so well put together. The melody comes in. Higher octave. It's exactly at this point when the second thing comes in where I realise just how chaotic it is behind the melody. What's fascinating is just like sitting here listening to it. Because of the old school kind of sounds, it's amazing how much some of it sort of blends with one another. And sometimes I hear notes come through at different points, and it's the way the 8-bit stuff works. It just works beautifully. And the melody sort of fades out, and you get this sort of still same sort of pace, still sort of the trotting along, less chaotic, other like synths and things coming in. Here he comes, a back. And an explosion. It's a build back up to the beginning. Do 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 do. Honestly, this soundtrack is phenomenal. Like, it is so good. I remember when I first did this soundtrack, I did say that I felt that it sounded very much like Mega Man, a lot of the bits of music. I still feel that way. I think Syphus has done a phenomenal job with this soundtrack. Honestly, like, not only is it my favourite indie game of all time, it is probably it's probably my favourite indie soundtrack of all time. Like, I genuinely love when I heard this, I was like, oh my god, this music is amazing. And I was very lucky at the time to have found back when I found the video. There was a video by Total Biscuit he had done on this, and because he was playing it and he actually turned it up, the music, I was like, oh my god, the soundtrack is so good. And because of that video, I bought the game, I bought the music, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I love chiptune, and this is one of the big reasons for that, is because of this soundtrack. I have listened to some of Syphus' other stuff as well, and it's also very, very good, but I want to spend some time listening to more of it, because I only just discovered more of it. So, but, yeah, you know, if you've never played the game, go out and play it. It's awesome. It's kind of like Cannon Fodder style. But if not, go and buy the soundtrack. I'm going to leave the link for the Bandcamp in the description below. You might be able to buy it at other places. I'm not sure if you can, but I definitely know you can buy it from there. You should definitely check out Syphus. He's done some awesome stuff. He's worked on a lot of other games. I think he's also done like possibly TV and film stuff. He's got like a whole biography. He's got a website. I'll put his website down there below. And obviously, if you do happen to see this, Syphus, like, just thank you for making an incredible soundtrack to one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it was really nice of you to comment on my original video all those years ago, and you know, I've still been listening to this to this day, and I think this soundtrack is just absolutely godlike. And it's only, like I said, it's only 8 or 9 tracks, but my god, are they good. Anyway, I hope you very much enjoyed this video. I just want more people to listen to this music. Please go out and support the artist. If you want to see more content like this, then hit the subscribe button, because I definitely want to make more focusing on some of the composers for games, because quite frankly, like, they deserve more love, I feel. Obviously, hit the like button if you like the video. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.